Hello and welcome to Flory Models Tuesday Q&A. Here we are on, what is it, day 24th of May 2016, and I of course am joined by Steve. Good afternoon, Steve.
Good
Here
afternoon,
we are.
Phil.
Is it nice and sunny where you are?
It's beautiful there. Bit breezy, but beautiful. Nice
I must
and
admit,
warm.
we had a bit of wind yesterday and it clouded over, but today is a lovely day out there. Not what you know, here we are on our little mushroom farms. So what have you been up to?
Not much really. I'm just carrying on a bit on the old typhoon, tornado even. Just put a wash on it. I don't know how well that, and it's giving it kind of an overall grimy effect.
Hold on, let me make you bigger. There you go.
I can't see. Right. So you can see it's
Yeah.
starting to get a bit grimy on there, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's coming out nice. So now
Very
I'm just
nice.
going to probably get on and start putting some oils on there just to break up change up the kind of the tone of the different panels, add a bit more grind to it, and then concentrate on putting all the smoke staining on the back.
Very nice. Looking really, really nice, I must admit.
We're getting there.
Coming together. Let me just check one thing, guys. Yeah, it's alright. Just making sure the other microphone was on, otherwise I'll be sounding like a right numpty. Okay, so where are we? There we go. I've been playing with new cameras today. If I just do you full screen, just to make things a little bit more interactive. So obviously you get me, you know, and then we have our overall cam, hopefully. Come on, signal, bing, bing, bing. This is the one you're used to, okay? But now we have turbo cam, as I'm calling it. So there we go, this is how good we get. And to be honest, this is what I've been up to. I've been making harnesses this morning. These are the, who are they called again? I can never remember the name. HGW, I think they are. Harnesses. These are fabric. Now I haven't rubbed them around yet. You roll them in your hand. You can soak them in a bit of water if you want, and they go really soft and they just hang like natural. But getting these little brackets on there and everything else like that can be a little bit of a chore, shall we say. So we've got all of those done. But once it's all together and in, and we get it fitted onto the seat like this, it will look absolutely fantastic. But certainly took a bit of work to do with the photo etch. This is all photo etch down here. It's been primed. I have to say I've been using a new primer with it, and it has been absolutely lovely. We've been using this stuff. I don't know if you used this stuff yet, Steve?
No, I haven't. No.
I've used this for the first time today, and I'll be honest with you, I love it. It's really, really nice. I also did this with it. This is the wings and everything for the Osprey, which is dry now, so we can remove it. This is what they call a micro primer. Okay, so don't think it's going to be covering you know, gaps and everything else like that. Literally what it's going to do is it's going to give a very fine finish, literally right the way over the model, but it's certainly not going to be taking care of any mistakes and anything else like that. But it is a very, very good primer. It's literally like milk straight from the bottle, this stuff. I don't know where you can see it in here, but it is literally like milk down in there. Very, very thin. You don't need to thin it from your airbrush. It is lacquer based, so you know, obviously you're going to need lacquer thinners to clean it out, good ventilation and all the other bits and pieces with it. But generally, I must admit, it's first time I've used it. Did it on there, and then I did it on here for the resin, because obviously we need to mask that up, and then it'll get a coat of the old RLM 66 over it, and we're going to weather chip, put all the dials in and all the bits and pieces for the cockpit setup. Because I said I'm going to do this so that on Monday when you see this part, then it'll be complete, all the cockpit done with any luck, if I make my way through it this week, and then it'll be onto the engine and all the other bits just like that. But generally really, really enjoying it, coming together very nicely. I do have to say the resin is absolutely beautifully cast, and the fit with it all is fantastic. It goes together exceptionally well. So anyway, today is Tuesday Q&As. We haven't got tons of them to go through today, but we have got a few. Remember, if you've got any questions for me and Steve, please post them up in our little section that we put up each week, as you have done here. So the first question is from Peter. Peter says, "Hi Phil and Steve, I'm going to be building the Revel Apollo Saturn V in 1/4 scale. After listening to your shows, I'm going to undercoat it with black to give it a solid base. For the white coat, using NATO black or rubber black for the panels. I will use the new Vallejo Metallics paint for the metal finishes. My question is, do you have any other suggestions to give the model more character, giving that it would not be heavily weathered? Hope your IT issues are sorted. Thanks for all the shows, etc. Peter." Right, okay, well the biggest thing I've got to it is obviously my shuttle, which if I try and do this, you won't be able to hear Steve for a sec, but I can point the camera, is this guy over here, is there, look, hey look, we're all cameras today, okay, so hopefully you guys can see it, it's up there. The way I did that one, just to break it up, to stop it looking a bit like a brick, was to literally give it different shades. So you can probably see it on the orbiter there. We've got different shades of off-white, and on the boosters itself. Obviously there's a full build on this guy and everything else, just to break it up a little bit and to give it a lightly weathered look, because they do get a little bit of weathering, as you know. So look, I could be a cameraman on the side. Don't know how we do it. As long as that's still facing the right direction. And Steve can still hear me. So yeah, that's the thing with it. I actually mixed into that one different shades of, I've got to remember exactly what it was now, but I think we went with obviously white, and we put in some very light shades of, I think it was like deck tan, something else like that, or a buff in amongst it, just to literally, just to break it up and make it look nice. And then you could just generally go in with a wash, very thin light wash right the way over it, just to give you a nice, you know, sort of shadowing in the shadow areas and the bits and pieces like that. With the black, I highly recommend polishing it, but you could also do it with the white as well. So if you're going to go in, you know, and lightly sand it as well, that'll give you different shades and hues and various things to your paint as you make around it. The other thing as well you can do with it is to vary the actual finish of it. So some areas do flat, some areas do gloss, and that way it just breaks it all up and makes it look a little bit more you know, than looking basically like a white lump, okay, and just things like that. But you can also pre-shade it as well, just to get some shadowing in there if you wanted to, and all the different things to break it up. And that's what really we did with that guy, just to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional. And as I said, the trouble when you get to the bigger scales like that, they tend to look very toyish. I describe that one as the Mattel kit, literally because of that factor. But I'm quite happy with it. It seems to come out really, really well. Just by breaking up the colours, it stops it from looking like a solid lump of white. Steve, how would you tackle?
Yeah, well, obviously for your blacks it's straightforward, but for your whites it's try to just change the hue of the white. So maybe a really thin filter over the top, like you said, adding a little bit of deck tan and just breaking up the different panels. And also, if you think if it's been however long they stay on the launch pad, it's got to get a bit grimy and dusty, even in storage. So yeah, it's just breaking up the white and try to just give it kind of a bit of character to the white. And but I don't know how well there's a picture there. I've just got on my phone, like you can see a band where it.
Yeah.
I'll just move it back. You know, you can see a band where the middle black section is about other side here. So about there in the middle you can see where it's slightly off white. So that's what you want to do, use different like off whites, maybe put a touch of grey in there, or like you say, if you do use a filter, just a really touch of brown oil paint, and then really thin it, heavily thin it, and it'll just break it up a bit. That's what you need to do. Because like I say, if you just left it all gloss white, it just looked like a toy.
Yeah, and that is the trouble with it, especially when you're getting into those. I think it was Telford, somebody did the 1/72nd Saturn V, that monster one. Yeah. Was that a 144 or a 1/72nd? That thing was massive, absolutely huge, wasn't it? And I'd say I've got the old Interstellar Ranger over there, and I keep thinking about sticking that under it as well, because it's designed to fit on it. And so it's got a version, so have versions of the ship there. But yeah, a lot of it is when you're dealing with, you know, whites and blacks, and it is when you look at like Steve's photo there, have a look on the net, you will find there's actually probably more colours than you think of. The shuttle's a classic example. When you see it on the pad, it just looks like it's white, but actually when you get up to it, and I had loads of great photos of it, it's multicoloured everywhere. It's all different shades of hues and everything else. So using a lot of the sci-fi techniques as well that we've done in recent things to stop things looking like white bricks, like we did with the Millennium Falcon, breaking it up. Obviously that was completely going the other way, but in general those sort of techniques, working with white and greys and everything else, you're just trying to sort of make things look more three-dimensional, and it's more your eye is taken around all the areas. But definitely a very nice project, and I'd love to see it.
I think as well, when you look around, nothing's brilliant white. Everything's always a shade of white.
Yeah.
slightly off white. It's not perfect, brilliant white. So if
No.
you keep that in mind.
And like, as I said, and I know I harp on about it, is that I tend to avoid, it's not my thing, I was taught this, or told to do it, but nothing's ever white and nothing's black in model making. You stay away from pure blacks and pure whites purely because they just look fake. So if you can like take a off color, that's why I like to use Tamiya's rubber black and NATO black and things like that, rather than just using a black, and it gives you a more believable, I suppose, colour, because in that colour, as you look at it, different angles and lights, they tend to give you different effects and different colours. So by looking at it in some ways, it looks quite blue. If you're looking at it in other directions, it looks sort of, you know, like a grey hue to it, and that's what it is. But you need to do that with white as well. You know, there's aircraft I've seen people do is things like Sunderlands that are white, you know, sort of naval Coast Guard aircraft. And if they use white, to me, they just never look right. But you'll get somebody who does like an off-white, and it pops straight away. It just gives it that more realistic look to it.
I'm going to say, Phil, in that model colour paint set that you bought, you should find that you've got flat white, gloss white, off-white, foundation white. So there's all different types of white that you could use.
Yeah, that's it. But as I said, I think it's just one of those things that, you know, as you say, like Steve get loads of reference photos of it and just have a good look at what you're seeing, and then, you know, take what you're seeing and try and relay it onto your model, because something like that, you really need some references, you know, that to sort of, you know, give you a guide, because that's what I found invaluable when I did the actual shuttle, because otherwise I would have literally just gone for the white effect. But looking at it, it's not white at all, it's different colours. It looks like it's had 100 paint jobs all over it, which I assume it does. Every time it comes back they repaint a bit, and working it around like that. Okay, so Bjorn, first question. Hello from Norway. I'm a new member, first post, love the site, love your daily vlogs, been watching you for a couple of years on YouTube and decided it was time to join the Flory family and getting back into the hobby for real now. 2 questions today, one for you and one for Steve. Okay, first for Phil. I'm thinking of buying a Sparmax TC610H 2.5 litre compressor, since a local gaming shop has a good offer on them. Is this a good buy? Do you know what's really weird? Mel's obviously come home from work and got in the house and everything, and I didn't know. I can hear her above. Either that,
yeah,
or we've got a burglar up there. Put it like that. I'm sure it's her and she's home.
Well, if it's a burglar, you need to sack your dog.
Yeah, I was going to say, because how come she's got in without the dog knowing either? So that's why I'm assuming it must be her. Okay, so sorry about that. It's good buy. The first for a first compressor. They also have a good deal on the Sparmax dual action gravity fed 0.3 airbrush. My same question: are they any good for a first airbrush, or do you need to go for something like the H&S or an Iwata right off the bat? Okay, first of all, your compressor. Yes, to me, it is still the best compressor on the market. As I say, I know I've got the 620 down there and I've got the bigger tank and everything else now, but I used that normal one, the 610, religiously for 10 years, and it is absolutely fine. Other compressors I had before that, I'd go through bearings, I'd have temperature problems and all things like that. I still think for pound, or euro for euro, and I can't remember what Norway use now, but they have their own as well, it is the best deal for money. There is other ones out there obviously, but I really would go for one of those. As for the airbrush, Sparmax dual action gravity fed 0.3, I don't know it. I do know it, but I've never used one or had one here and all the rest of it. I would recommend highly though going for the H&S brushes. There's a million videos on it. I know them inside out. I trust it, you know, implicably. I would recommend going for an Evo, an Evolution with a 0.2 needle. Go for the CR Plus, it's just there. It's a little bit more money, but you buy right with that one and you're set for life then, because you can just upgrade your needles, your nozzles, your various bits and pieces, and then you can just add those or buy a new airbrush and interchange your parts and everything else in the H&S line, which I really like. So that would be my recommendation. As I say, it could be quite a nice airbrush, but I'm just thinking it's probably going to be along the lines of the iWater family, because that's what they tend to do. But definitely I would recommend the H&S brushes. Go and have a look. There's the videos on there. There's if you go into the review area, we've got the one which I used on the wherever it is now. I can't even think where it is. I can't even see it. That's the Neo. It's obviously around somewhere else, but we've got the what is it called? The bottom one. God, it must be here somewhere. There it is. Is it that one? Yeah, the Ultra. That's what I'm thinking. So you could start with the Ultra. Good grounding. You can obviously take the nozzle, the needle, and the bits, and put it into any other H&S airbrushes. But the Evo, which is this one, would be my one of choice if I'm recommending them out. You can then obviously go higher. I don't recommend the AL one because it's just a lighter version of the various things, but if you're starting out and you're not sure, then obviously go with an Ultra, just give that a whirl. But then if you want to just spend that little bit extra, just push up to an Evolution, which is basically the mid-range version of all the Harder and Steenbeck range. Right, Steve, question for you.
Okay.
Being the armour god, would you recommend AFV Club kits? I want to build an M24 Chaffee, but in the Royal Norwegian Army NM116 version. AFV Club has this version as a kit, but it's quite pricey. Is it worth the money compared to the standard Tamiya or Italeri Chaffee kits? Keep up the great work, Bjorn Larsen.
Yeah, AFV Club are very good kits. They've got a lot more detail over Tamiya. In places they can be a bit fiddly, but yeah, they're very, very good kits. Whether I get it over the Tamiya or the other one, probably would actually. I'll probably get that one, the AFV Club one. But yeah, they're very good kits. You won't go wrong with them. It's just a matter, you just need to take a little bit more time over them than you would a normal Tamiya kit. But you'll get the detail.
I was going to say, it always seems to me that the AFE stuff is the sort of top tier with the armour type stuff, and they tend to do the more versions of. You know, they'll pick a kit and they'll do loads of different versions. So yeah, I think you'll find there's more detail in there than you're certainly going to get with the Italeri one, for instance. So yes. Okay, so next up, Peter. Hi gents, this is a speculative question. God, using big words this afternoon. Given what's happened over the last 10 years with the wealth of releases, what and where do you think the hobby will be in 10 years' time? Yeah, well, I get flamed a bit when I start on one of these rants and all the rest of it. My problem is that I think the hobby, because of the internet, has had a second lease of life. Okay, I think that it's all there and it's great because what it's done, it's taken the 30-year-old plus modeler and given him some friends to talk to about it, and it's brought us all out of the closet. Okay, my worry is, and I did mention it a couple of weeks ago on one of the blogs, is that in 10 years time we're all going to get older and we're going to sort of slowly die out. And in 10 years time, I think what's going to happen is you're going to have better quality kits. I think obviously the moulding's going to get finer, the detail will be more, and all the rest of it, just because as technology gets better, everything gets smaller and detailed. But I can imagine the pricing is going to creep up and it's going to become more of, I'm trying to think of another hobby where it's more of a niche market. So consequently, the unit costs are going to go up, kits are going to get more expensive. I think the detail in that will be even better. You know, you look back from what we had 10 years ago to have now, kits have come on a massive amount, and especially kits, whereas before it was just a plastic kit, now you get all the resin, the photo etch and all the other bits and pieces. I think you're going to get a lot of 3D work going to come into it. But yeah, I just imagine that we're going to slowly die out unless we can get kids back into it in a big way, especially in the UK. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I think, you know, UK, US is very much like it. I think Japan, it's still a very much a tradition out there. That's what they are into. And because they do things like the sci-fi stuff, the Gundam stuff especially, TV shows, anime, it all interlinks, it's all model related, so they could go very easily from one subject and then move into armour or aircraft if they've always done Gundam stuff or something else like that. But I think over here we don't have that. And I still think that, you know, from my point of view, probably one of the last of the generations of the model makers who do it. Obviously there's exceptions, getting the kids into it, but that's where I sort of see it. Steve?
Yeah, I think could be a problem with there's not getting enough kids involved now. I think long term, like I say, it could ruin the hobby in the UK, even around the world. As for where kits and everything's going to be, I think you're going to get the kits going to become a lot more complex, a lot more detailed, and instead of now where you quickly build a kit, I think they're going to be kind of more up to your museum quality, so everything comes together. So instead of doing a kit out straight out of the box, you could do in a week. You know, you've got to take you a month, 2 months to do it. But I just hope they don't do now, because I think at the moment the market's getting oversaturated with products. And
my point to it is, I was having a discussion actually with somebody this a couple of weeks ago, and I said it's all very well these new companies coming out with new ranges of paints and new ranges of this and new ranges of that. Yeah, that's great, because what they're relying on is the people like me. I'm mid-40s, I've got disposable income, and I can afford to buy it. But if you're a newbie starting out, it's incredibly expensive. Especially when you see, you know, hopefully I don't come across, I never want to use everything that comes on the market, because I don't believe you need to do it. And I try to keep this very much in the real world, okay? So I don't have rows of paint and, you know, rows of tools and everything else, because at the end of the day, I don't think you need them all. But if you're coming into the hobby, I think now it's just, you know, as I say, you look at a classic example, and I'm not having a go at him before everybody thinks I am, but with MiG. Obviously MiG ammo, they've been going now, what, a year? But their range is phenomenal. It goes on for absolute ever. And now, because it started a bit of a competition thing, you've got Vallejo now who are releasing, they've just released an entire new weathering set of everything, of these spatter muds and the various bits and pieces like that. And you just know that all the other companies are going to follow suit, because it is that thing. They need to compete. It's a competitive market out there. But it's going to turn into a thing where there's just so much out there that I can feel that from somebody looking in is going to look in and they're going to think it's like a really expensive hobby, and be off put by just the sheer amount of everything, instead of it being quite, okay, this is what you need, this is what it is. But, you know, people looking in think, yeah, a bit too much for me, I think, and too much of a learning curve as well, where in theory it's not. It should be fun. You know, and there is that thing of people were being shown these fantastic kits, and all weathered beautifully and everything else, but nobody's talking about actually building the model in the first place. You know, magazines these days, you've got the weathering mags and this mag. No one seems to care about actually the art form of building a model anymore. So I can see this in another way of turning out. You're just going to buy a 3D printed model. It's going to come to you like this, okay? And then all you do is paint and weather it, and then put the fiddly bits on afterwards, which I know, you know, and this is going to sound a bit hypocritical from me, because I love that, because I don't actually enjoy building that much. Okay, I enjoy the painting, the weathering and all the things like that, but I can imagine that you'll buy a kit and it will come to you literally in grey plastic like this, or injection moulded, or resin, or whatever it is, 3D moulded, and it's going to turn out just like this, and all you're going to expect to do is paint and weather it, because the art form of physically building a kit isn't there anymore. But the world's moved on, so in theory, they, instead of them being before, they could never produce something like this. But I reckon now, with modern technology and the way that things are being, you know, obviously 3D printing, you know, slide molding, stuff like that, you could almost get into it now that you don't need as many pieces in a kit. You could turn up and it turns out like this, and then all you got to do as a modeler is put the roof on and all the fiddly bits and paint it. So that is my other slight concern to it, that the actual art form of model making is a sort of dying a death almost.
Yeah, but the problem you see at the moment is, though, it's everybody's on a parts count. You know,
Yeah.
we've got to get as many parts as we can into this kit, and they're having competitions between themselves to do this. So you're getting a lot of need. So we've noticed on the Dolphin, why didn't they just do that in one piece?
Yeah,
You can't see, but they're doing that. And if they carry on try to outdo each other on the parts count,
Hmm.
that could be worrying in years to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
But I think, yeah, from my point of view, though, it's just that the way the industry seems to be going as a whole, it seems to be, it's like, it's just a balloon. It's just going to blow and blow and blow. It's going to get bigger and bigger. So kits are going to, at this point, get more complicated, more parts count, and be this big thing. But that's not helping the newbie coming in. It's not teaching people how to just build a model kit normally, with magazines and that. And I have to be honest, I haven't bought a magazine now in probably 10 years. Okay. But the thing is to it, even online and various things and YouTube and that, nobody tells you actually how to build a kit anymore. It's more about this is how you weather it, this is how you do the paint technique, this is a new technique, this is an old technique, come back and, you all know my views on things like that. But I think the basics are being lost along the way, and I think people are slowly being drawn away to other things as well, because let's face it, you've certainly, Bandai is a classic example of it. If they start, I don't saying they are for a minute before everyone quotes me on this, but if they started to bring out aircraft kits, armour kits, in the same way as they did the Star Wars stuff, that you don't need glue, and people don't call it modelling because it is literally snap fit, as in no glue required. It will kill the hobby, but in some ways it could make it vastly improve it, because it will make things easier to go together, that they're just going to fit together really easy, so kids can build them, they don't need skills particularly, and that way you can just get in with the painting and weathering and express yourself that way. So in some ways that could be a good thing, and as I say, if I won the lottery, it'd have to be the worldwide lottery or the Euro lottery or something, and I set up a company, I'd steal most of Bandai's stuff and get them to build aircraft kits. Literally, I'd say, right, okay, I want to know everything you know now, and we're just going to do exactly the same, but this time we're going to have a new division, and it's going to be called the Air Wing and the Armour Wing and the whatever wing, and that's it of the business, and we're going to do exactly what you do there, but we're going to do it with aircraft kits. And we're going to become like, the Carlsberg of model companies, because that's it. I still maintain it, and I know I got a lot of flack for it last year when we spoke about it, but Bandai have perfected almost model making, because if you don't need glue and you can't see a seam line because they hide it all behind layers, that's incredibly very, very high tech, very much. Again, when you get something like this where it's two halves of plastic going together and you've got a huge seam line to take care of, you just know Bandai would find a way of hiding it. It would be hidden in a panel or recessed, and it would lock together. It would have internal structures, so it's bulletproof almost to go together. But I'd love to see them do that.
Yeah, but with Bandai's kits, it'd be nice that you could have an entry level, so that appeals to everybody who can just assemble it, put it together, and then have a high grade series,
which is very much like their Gundam stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. So then you take it to another level. Then you can start adding all really super detail out of the more detailed parts, and so you've got a nice basic model and super duper model. I think that would really work.
And I totally agree, Steve. We will go into business. We just need some backer. If you are a multi-billionaire like Wayne Enterprises, we'd like to speak to you, because me and Steve have got this worked out. It's just we haven't got any money to do it. But at the end of the day, as I look at Bandai now with a different light. As I said, I never really had anything to do with them, but I've been looking at Gundam stuff recently, because I am going to do a Gundam build in the next few months. Something that I'm developing on a different side of the company. But from my point of view, you look at it and they do their normal grade ones, and then they do master grade ones, and then they do a different grade ones, and you're looking at the pricing structure. It's like, it's a 30 quid kit, that's a 60 quid kit, that's a 120 quid kit. Then they do versions in there which I didn't know, but they're 300 quid a pop, and for the, these mechs, and they're absolutely stunning, and it has a big following and all the rest of it. But you can see the natural progression as kids, how they would probably go along with it, because they're going to start off at the 30 quid ones, and then they're going to go up, and you can do different armour sets for them and upgrade them. And I'm thinking you could use that entire business sort of ethos into aircraft as well, and work a company that way, and I think it would work exceptionally well,
Yeah, and keep them, make sure we, like Airfix do the little gift sets for kids. But some of them can be, the kits themselves can be pretty dire.
Oh God, yeah.
So you want a range that a kid will go in, can build and enjoy building it, and do what he wants. He's not put off that when he glue it don't fit, and then it goes, oh, can't be bothered, and throws it away. You need a range. They'll get in there, it goes together nicely, they'll be proud of what they've done, and then it might, you know, springboard them into
Other
taking
things.
it up.
Yeah. But don't you think though, there's a part of it that the thing is, like with Bandai kits, because you don't need glue, you're almost getting rid of that stigma of modeler as well, because the snap tight is so good on those kits that kids can put it together quite safely without having to use solvents and tools particularly. You know, I feel from that point of view as well, it could be like the saving grace of the hobby, because it's taking away the mystical side of gluing and having to put it together. It just pushes it together. It's as simple as that. But the point I'm trying to make here is that Airfix have just, or in the process of now, aren't they, releasing snap tight kits. Revell have been doing them for years, but the subject they're doing and the way they go together again is so stupidly simple, because it's like two halves go together. It's like 10 bits per kit, but it's almost treating the modeler or modeler to be or whatever, you know, it's too good, it's too easy, it's too stupid, and they don't go together particularly well either. Whereas you can take a Bandai kit of something, you know, just say like the TIE Fighter for instance, where it's moulded in, the colours are moulded together already, okay, and that they go together in such a way that is literally a clip fit. They can't go together wrong either, because normally the left and rights are all different in the way they're put together. So if it doesn't fit, there's always a reason, you've got the wrong bit, and they just work. And you come along and you end up with, you know, what we've got up there, which are incredibly detailed kits that have got very limited part counts, and there's no glue holding any of my Bandai kits together, you know. Well, apart from the AT-AT, which, not AT-AT, before everyone jumps up and down on that, AT-ST, that, you know, is being held together by lots of glue because the plastic fell apart, which we know had a problem.
Well, you see, with my Bandai kits, I must admit, in places I will use glue. Because so you can, even though you fit together beautifully, it's still that little seam line that shouldn't be there. So it gives it, so, you know, that brings the modeler into it. So you just put that little bit of glue, make sure it's all nice and smooth, get rid of the seam line. And then you're taking it from a kind of, you know, snap together kit that everybody can do and put the stickers on. Then the modeler in you comes out and takes it to the next level where you want to weather it. You want to create that look as though it were in the film, as though it, you know, bring it to life. So yeah, definitely the way to go.
Yeah, there we go. But as I say, I have very strong reviews on all of this, and I have to bite my lip a lot of the time, I know. But as I say, my overall worry is in not so much 10 years' time, because I think we'll all still be here, but as I think 20 years' time, that's going to be the turning point, and that's going to be the point where you know, you've got companies, the bigger companies, who tend to produce hundreds of products, as in weathering products. I think they're going to struggle, because we've already all got this paint because we went out and bought all their sets, but the newbies coming along aren't going to need it and don't want it, and I think that's where they're going to fall short, you know. So from that point of view, I can imagine 20 years time will be the turning point, you know. I'll be in my 60s then, so
Yeah.
I'll be sitting back and laughing from my villa somewhere.
You hope.
I hope, yeah, probably not. I'll still be here flogging away. But yeah, that's, you know, as I say, I wish, I don't, you know, technology's great, and I'm a total hypocrite, I have to say this, because I game online, as a lot of you know. I do my flight sims, I play Battlefield 4, Battlefield, you know, Battlefront, I do all the bits and pieces like that. And I love it, and I can understand why kids don't do this as a hobby, but it is something in me genetically that likes the building, the construction and all things like that I can't get doing simulations and all the rest of it and running around playing first-person shooters. So, you know, from that point of view, it's you know, something I enjoy doing. It's a creative thing. I'm just hoping kids of tomorrow will still have that genetic gene in them that will want to knock something together.
Plus, I think a lot of it's the manufacturers bringing out stuff that kids want to build nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, to get them hooked into it, like Bandai's Star Wars range. Rebel bringing out Star Wars. They've seen the film, they've got all the hype. That's a good idea. So they need to carry that on in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Right, okay, sorry, we got sidetracked for half hour on that question. Okay, so Daniel says, very much enjoying Phil's tutorials, reviews on new metal finish. natural metal finishes. Fantastic work. Great comparison between the two products and their colours. In one of them, Phil did mention a bit of weathering on the 105 with the clay washes. If possible, I'd like to see more natural metal finishes detailing techniques. Will you be doing any more videos with natural metal finish weathering? It would be helpful since there will be a sorry, was it? Sorry, I was reading ahead as I'm writing it. Natural metal finish group build. Meet my metal later on in the year. Keep up the great work, Dan. Yes, I have got something else metally planned for a little bit later on in the year, well, end of the summer, because, as I say, I want to have another go with it and a play with it and all the rest of it. As I say, I've got a couple of sci-fi things coming up. One of them is quite metally, shall we say. Yes, it is going to be the old Raider, wherever it's gone. I had it here earlier. I would fancy doing that one as well. So I'm going to do that in metals and weather it and all the bits and pieces with that as well. So definitely we'll be doing more of those. Okay, Richard. I won't try and mutilate your second name. Hi guys, I've been watching the daily videos available on YouTube and recently signed up. Loving the site so far. So much to learn. Thanks for all your efforts. I've got two questions. Firstly, any kit recommendations as an enjoyable ship builds, particularly any aircraft carriers? I've always been a massive US Navy aircraft fan, and there's something about aircraft carriers that really appeals to me. Would be interested in any aircraft carriers that you would have Tomcat squadrons on board. Okay, so from that point of view, I can only say I've done one properly. That was the Iwo Jima. So I did the Wasp class assault carrier. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but boy is it a monster. So when you're sort of getting into that sort of scale, the 1 to 350, they get big very, very quick when you're talking carriers. Stefan did an amazing Nimitz class carrier last year. Was it last year? Year before? The full build is up on the main site for that one as well, and you can find this build thread where he answers everyone's questions. He's made his way through the build on that one. Obviously that's full of Tomcats. Yeah. I would love to do some more ships, but it's finding space and something that really appeals to me. And I have to say this, and I'll say this openly, when Trumpeter ever do drop, I think it was Trumpeter, the Ark Royal, with the Navy Phantoms on board it, and Buccaneers and that, which they've been saying they're going to bring out for years now. We've all seen the CAD work. I think I've even seen the box artwork, but so far they've never released it. But when that one comes out, I intend to do that as a build, because that's a personal favourite of mine. So, have you ever done a carrier, Steve?
No, I think I've got one in the back, a Trumpeter one. It's not 350, I think it's smaller than that.
Yeah.
But I know a Trumpeter do quite a few different ones, and Tamiya.
Yeah, I must admit. Mind you, we'll let you off because you're doing the monster, the canoe behind you.
Yeah.
In the Missouri 1 to 200.
Out and, crack on with that.
That's it. Right, okay. Second question is simply any tips for brush painting? I sometimes struggle to get coats down nicely without brush marks. I usually use Tamiya and now Vallejo, which I've got the knack of. But would you have any other recommendations or tips for brush painting? Steve, I'll pass over to you.
Yeah, I'd stick to model colour, Vallejo model colour paints. You can use Model Air as well.
Yes.
If you just brush paint, really, you need to get a good layer of primer down, so I'd probably use a rattle can, aerosol can spray, primer. Tamiya do a good primer that, or use automotive plastic primer.
Yeah.
And then for brush painting, build up your coat. Don't try and put it all down in one go. Build up the layers. Just do it layer by layer. Take your time over it. If you put too much paint on, you'll end up with brush marks, splodging. Goes all uneven. So just do different layers and build it up.
One of the guys did a fantastic Shackleton. Did you see that on the forum this week? And that's hand painted. You'd never know it in a million years by looking at it. But yeah, that's the Airfix Shackleton he's done with the white and grey scheme. And he hand painted that. That's stunning, that is. My only recommendation is to stick a little bit of retarder into it, or a little bit of I like, which I've got to get some because I'm out of, is Vallejo's airbrush cleaner. a drop of that mixed into it thins it out. That's got a retarder in it as well, and it just makes it very smooth finish, and it gets rid of brush marks because it gives it time to self-level. The trouble when you brush painting acrylics, obviously it's drying instantly, you get the skin effect, and that gives you the brush marks in it. But I am by no means a brush painter. I must admit, I've airbrushed. Last time I paintbrushed a whole model would have been with enamels. I've never done it with acrylic.
But the problem you get using Tamiya paint is you can only go really in one direction. And if you try going back over it again before it's dried, then you start having real problems.
Oh, it just peels and the skin on it, isn't it, and all the rest of it. But yeah, what you need to do ideally is put something in there that's going to slow down the drying time. So if you pop in there something like a retarder, you can buy acrylic ones, proper ones, but you can get airbrush ones as well, which a drop of that into your paint, mix it so it thins it a little bit, and then very light coats and build up with it. That way you won't lose either surface detail. So recessed panel lines these days, stuff like that, riveting, you won't just flood it and fill it. It'll dry in naturally and everything else like that. But that would be my only recommendation. But I am not by any means a brush painter, to be honest.
So start with a good primer.
Yeah, a good primer down as well, definitely. Thing is, if you don't put a good primer down, you do that thing as well, where you get brush strokes go right down to the plastic and then just clean it as it goes, isn't it? So if you put a primer down, it's got something to grip to, and it makes it so much smoother as it makes its way through. Okay, Dennis says, "Hi guys, I'm having trouble dry brushing acrylics. Either the paint dries on the brush, or there's too much on the brush, resulting in streaks on areas that I don't want the lighter colour to show. Do you use a retarder with acrylics, or do you have to use a retarder with acrylics?" You can do, absolutely. What I tend to find is that if you're going to dry brush with acrylics, the secret I use is flood the brush first, get it nice and moist so you get all the bristles soft, okay, then get it all off, and then get it all off again, and then a bit more, because you'll find you leave bits in. But your dry brushing should be something that you don't do in one pass. It takes forever to come up, and it's something that I only learned over the last couple of years. So when you're doing, because I'm going to be honest, dry brushing all of this, and I'll show you in detail on it, that you might go over it and think nothing's happening, and actually you're probably thinking I'm wearing through the paint, okay, but actually you're building up very slowly. That way you get full control over your dry brushing, rather than that first pass where you see it. You don't really want that, because you know by the second pass you can go too much. And the thing with all dry brushing, as soon as you've got too much on there, you've had it, okay? It should be one of those things that it just lightly builds up. The other thing as well with dry brushing that I sort of do now is I don't use a stiff brush like I used to. I used to use quite a short, flat-headed, like this one's not so bad, but I do like a softer bristle. So you get it all on, and then you're literally just touching it, just flicking over it very, very gently and slowly letting it come up, and that way you can tell exactly how much you want it to come up, okay? The other way of doing it, of course, is oils, which is another technique, which I've done quite a bit. You don't have to go down the traditional oil route, and to be honest, this is why these are. I did some dry brushing the other day, but down here we have some of these, these are the water-based ones, which are absolutely great because they you know, come right the way through. There we go, these are these ones, okay, but these are water mixable, and actually they work really, really well. I've got enough in here to probably last me about 40 years and all the rest of it, but you can do it with those, but as I say, for acrylic wise, I always completely get it all off the brush so you're almost scratching it in. Steve?
Yeah, I think I'll show you on this bit of kitchen roll. It's easiest, I found it's easy way of seeing how much you've got left on your brush. So after I'll just move the camera down a bit, see if you can see. So after you've dipped it in your paint, can you see that, Phil?
Got a contrast error. Can you bend it down a little bit more? That's it. Do it more towards your chest. That's it. Right. Yeah, perfect.
Oh, I can see it now. Right, so I've dipped it in black paint. So if you start like that, you can see how it.
Yeah.
Can you see how the texture's now coming out on the detail?
On the roll, yeah.
And it's still too much, so I'll just keep doing it.
And to be honest, I tend to do that until I don't see it.
Yeah.
That's my way of doing it. If I don't get any more coming off, I know I'm okay then, and I can.
So if you can see it, I'll use this bit now.
Yeah.
So if you see that now, you can hardly see anything coming off.
No.
And that means to me that it's ready, but you can still see it's black on the bristles.
Yeah.
but it's not coming off on the tissue. Now, if I were to go over a model and keep going over in layers,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to see now how it's.
Yeah.
If I get
Yeah.
that,
Definitely.
you can start seeing how it's gradually building up. It's taking me a few
Yeah.
goes
Passes
to do it.
to
It's
get
just
it to
where my
come
finger
through.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing as well, a little technique I do is I tend to thin it.
No,
So
I never do that.
I must admit, I tend to thin it a little bit. That way you stop. If you're using like Tamiya and it's a little bit older and it's a little bit thick, I tend to thin it just a little bit and take it from there.
But I've just gone over several goes and you can still only just see.
Yeah, that's it, coming through.
And I use this. This is I don't know where you guys picks it up that way. The armour painter, and these are for dry brushing.
Yeah.
And it's got an angled bristles which work really, really well.
Yeah, it's what they call the chisel tip, isn't
Yeah.
it? Those?
Yeah, they work. I think they're the best I've found for dry brushing. But yeah, use a bit of kitchen roll, just do that, and then as soon as you can't see it coming off your bristles in one pass, you know you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Start dry brushing.
See, the other thing as well on this one here, this is my one. Okay, these are really, really soft, but you can see it's got all metally on it. And I'll play devil's advocate here. But this is dried on. If you're doing a metal effect, literally you can come with this guy and I will literally just gently rub this over. And I don't know even how well it's going to show on here, but it will take forever. Even though this is like a silver on here, it will take a while for it to physically come up and show without being too in your face. Okay, so we're just going to, and you can see it's literally flicking over it, and now how well the camera can catch it. You catch it in the light, you can just see it. It's one of those things that plays ball sometimes with the camera, sometimes not. I'll just switch to the bigger camera, might catch it more. But it's on there, but it's literally like an afterthought down in there. It's nothing too strong and all those things. But as I say, I prefer a softer, longer bristle. I just tend to find it conforms a little bit better around shapes and stuff like that than the harder, shorter ones, because that tends to be a scratchy movement to it. I prefer just a little soft one and it can go along and do it all like that. But as I say, dry brushing is just one of those things where I think a lot of people put too much paint on too quick and things like that, and then literally what you're looking for, as I back, is to build it up. That way you don't get the trouble. We've all done it, you know, the bit where you go with your first pass and you end up basically painting it or putting streaks on it. That's because you've got too much on the brush. So what I tend to do is I'll come along and literally I'll be pushing it down. Make sure you get it out the top of the brush as well, so when you dip it in your paint, don't over dip it, because if it gets up near the top, what happens is as you're doing it, that then comes down and can rehydrate your bristles and get paint down in there, and then you end up painting it quite heavily.
And you can see there, I've just cleaned my brush how much paint is still on your bristles.
Yeah,
even though you can't see it coming off, so you do several passes, there's still a lot of paint.
A lot of paint left over, yeah. But the thing is, the other option you could try, say, is to try it with oils, which I'm not saying you have to go out and buy every single colour oil paint that's out there. But if you've got just a basic range, you can mix up colours to do dry brushing. You'll notice with oils, you'll put a bit on a brush and it will last you for hours. Literally, and that's what I like about it. And I think we used it on some of the builds recently I've done, with some of my older ones, definitely the sci-fi stuff, is that you'll find, and you can use big brushes like this, in fact this is one of them, like these guys, these are quite large, and you're literally just going over it and it just seems to keep giving and giving and giving. And that's the thing with oils, because they are always going to be bleaching out, and because they're not drying, they're always going to be coating quite smoothly, and you can go along and use them like that. So yes. So flat or round brush, I would say definitely a flat brush, or a chiseled end like Steve's got. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we? And Ali says, hi Phil and Steve. In the last Q&A you talked about using oils for weathering and special effects. What is the best, the old-fashioned oil-based paints or the new water-soluble? And what would you use to seal them after? Can you use acrylic clear sealer, or would you have to be a spirit-based sealer? Just thinking oils and water-based products mixing. I'll do the first bit of this question, you do the second, Steve. From my point of view, using these ones, when we did it in testing, aren't quite, and when we're saying quite, we are meaning tiny amount, as good as using oils. I found these to be just a little bit working slightly more like acrylic, if you like, which technically I know they are, but these are water mixable oils. These are oils first, but they've got a molecule in there that allows water to bind to them and all the rest of it. It still kills the fish, you know, as pointed out on the sign at the back. Okay, but the thing is, from a point of view of oils and colours, you can just go out and get any colour you really want. With these, they're quite selective on, there's not a massive range to them in the colours, but they do work just as well. But don't forget, these are an oil first. It just so happens that they can connect with water because somebody moved a molecule on it or something. But they are oils first, alright? So it's not like there is mass difference, it's just it works with water and not with spirits and all the rest of it. As for sealing,
I'm just giving my dog a polo.
I can see that. Bless Jess.
Yeah, she's missing her mummy.
Yeah, I know. Was she no mum there this week?
Yeah, I use normal standard oil paints. And I find that I usually put from working with them, I'll put the oil paints on. As soon as I've finished, I'll leave it overnight, and then the next day I'll just go ahead and put a coat of clear over the top. You don't need to use a solvent based.
Yeah. I think also
varnish.
it is that thing, a lot of people worry very much of overcoating paints. When they're totally cured, you don't have to worry about it at all. You can have like an enamel paint totally cured, and then you can put an acrylic over the top. You can have an acrylic and put an enamel. As long as they are totally cured, you have no problem. The trouble comes in is obviously when it's wet, and obviously you try and overcoat, they don't like to mix, but you'll be fine once they're totally cured.
I think because of the way that I use them, and it's, if you think it's only the tiniest, thinnest layer that ends up on the model, just giving them overnight to dry, it is then safe to put your clear on.
Yeah, it's not like doing an oil painting that takes 20 years to dry.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so Jimmy says, "Hi, I have a question about Stynylrez. I bought it after seeing Phil's review of it. I first had no issues with it. Now though, it's just a nightmare. It's spraying, it blocks the airbrush within 30 seconds of starting spraying. I suspect it's to do with my climate and the air where I live. It's a lot more humid during the summer than the winter. I've tried using different pressures and thinning it, bigger needles, but pressure seems to make no difference, and needle size is the same. And when trying to thin it, it does not mix as well when spraying it, and it just spits. Do you have any suggestions to solve the issue? I'm about to give up on Stynylrez. Yesterday I tried XF19 base coat and then misted it over some levelling thinners, and then I must say the results were as good, so maybe to bin the Stynylrez and just go with Tamiya, since it's so much easier to spray and requires a lot less cleanup afterwards. Curious to hear your thoughts. Keep up the good work, you guys. It's worth every penny clear. Cheers, Jim. Right. Okay, I do have a theory on this as well, because I tried to prime a certain object over the weekend and mine has turned to tar. Which is great because I've only used it once. But seriously, my black is... I'll do it this way. It's... I've put it this way. I've put in this I had to take some out to fit some in, but probably it's now a fifth IPA went into this. So, you know, that's my problem with it. This stuff is actually thickening up on me, and I'm not even using it. That's the trouble. You?
I'll just pour a bit out and see.
So, where's the other one? Where's the other one?
Because I've used this once when we first heard about it.
Yeah. But this will be a classic example because I've got a bolt in here and it ain't even moving.
I've got one in mine and I can't hear it.
It's just literally got loose. But as a classic example, let's just
See what yours like compared to mine. mine's still fine.
That's the other one. Sorry, that's the new one. But this one, you can probably see, let me put it on close cam, is we're going to designate this camera. This on Sunday, I put in here a 5th thinners, but you look at this, how thick this stuff still is. You know, that's how thick this has gone. Look at it, it's like horrendous. Yeah, honestly, mine has turned to glue.
Well, mine's sticking well around the side of the cup, it's not.
Yeah, but mine's not even pouring out, look. Look, look, that's ridiculous.
I think mine will. Just use my kitchen. Let's have a try. Here we go. Yeah, mine pours.
Yeah, mine doesn't.
Mine's alright.
It's like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But you can see how thick this covers as well.
What about you? Is your grey okay? Might just
To be honest, this grey's a brand new one. I thought it was the other one. I think I've lent my grey out.
Maybe it's just the black. It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, let me just try the white. Again, I've got a gnat in here and I can hardly hear it. It's never a good sign. Right, this is the white. See, again, I don't think you could spray mine because this one was opened for something, and that's probably 45-degree tilt, that. So you couldn't spray that in its current state.
No.
That's too thick. You know, that's literally tar. You can see it's actually refusing to tip now even.
I'll tell you something, that could be very, very good for intakes.
Well, yeah, great. The only thing is you might get shrinkage with it. I don't know. I've tried
I don't know,
it.
try it, but that could be...
Look at that. That shows you how it's just not even running down the sides now.
That could be the new
It's
thing.
locked. There you go. We'll rebrand it. Put a label on it. Intake cover.
Intake
So-
colour. Yeah, wait, watch this space. That'll appear
Yeah.
before long.
Anyway, this stuff's really good. This month's primer with Flory Models recommendation is this. The only thing is it's lacquer based and it stinks. So you're going to have good ventilation or a good extractor. It's very, very thin though. Don't think that these are the same, okay? Because they're not. Actually, I've got a white one of these as well. No, I've got a black one. It does come in 3 flavours, this particular one. I have used the black now and I've used the grey. I haven't got the white. I'm going to apply a white as well. But as I say, it's going to get a bit tricky now because people are going to say, oh, but you said, and all things like that. Really, at the end of the day though, this here is what we call a microfiller. So micro, just imagine it won't fill anything. It's not going to, it's a surface primer, but you're not going to get rid of any imperfections. Okay, so the great thing about Stynylrez, if you had little imperfections, it used to smooth things out quite nicely. This stuff, if you got tiny scratches perhaps from sanding your model, things like that, it'll show them up. It's not going to hide anything like that at all. This one's a microfiller, so it's designed for doing really things like resin or perfect finishes. Okay, so that is the thing with it. Don't think it's a direct replacement for something like Stynylrez, but as I say, I don't want to say anything because I open my mouth far too quickly as it is and I get myself into trouble. But I've got trouble with my Stynylrez because it's thickening up without me even touching it. And I must admit, it's not just me because I have had more than 3 or 4 people now say to me, have I tried certain colours of it? Because they seem to go thicker than others. And I haven't tried the coloured ones yet. But I've only used the green once and I didn't really like that one. It was really thick. So I think there is going to be an issue with this, especially I reckon in the summer when it gets hot.
Yeah.
So
Be interesting to see what other people find over the coming weeks, to see if they find certain colours
are going thicker
really
or
bad
something.
yeah.
But I think once the humidity drops, you know, and dries out, this stuff seems to thicken up a little bit. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, obviously, your thoughts on this, guys. If you tell us what you think. If you're having trouble with it, then write to your badger agent and say, look, But definitely my white is unusable. There's no way that can be used. My black I know isn't working at all. So yeah, I had to thin it. Literally, I put probably a fifth IPA into it. And IPA is the only thing I found that thins this to workable anyway. The other trouble you have with Stynylrez, whilst we're on about it, if you don't clean out your colour cups straight away after using it and it dries, very little will get rid of it apart from getting in there and physically scrubbing it. Don't think a soak will get this stuff off, because it won't. You need to actually physically get in there and take care of it. Okay, so there we go, Jim. I hope that's scuppered all your ideas. Okay, Tom asks, hi guys, first ever question. I'm currently working on the black and white technique and come across a product called Transparentor. Small bottle like Valero type. Presumably this product thins the paint top colour so the effects shine through. Has anyone used it? Or is it just thinners in a posh frock? Thanks in advance, Tom. Right, okay, this is MIG's latest product, I assume. They're trying to flog us, a clear coat. Basically what this is an old trick that artists use quite a lot. And it's like a sort of glazing effect or a wash that's not thin. What happens is that it's not actually thinners, it's actually like a clear into your paint. So the particle count, if you like, is less, so it allows more through. It's basically a way of painting a very thin coat onto your model. You could cheat and just use thinners and put it down that way, but the thing is, when you thin the paint, the actual viscosity of the paint gets thinner. Okay, so you tend to hoof out a lot more at your airbrush. This stuff, from what I understand, I haven't bought it because I don't need it, but technically is a clear paint, if you like, that goes in to your thing. So it's like having a clear coat of the colour of your paint. So it's basically not a thinner as such, because it's not thinning your paint, it's just thinning the colour of your paint, not the viscosity of it, i.e. the thinness, the wetness, the flow, okay? So that's how it works. Artists use it, they call it like a glazing coat. You can put down thin colours over the top of things to basically tint. It's not like putting a wash coat on though, and things like that. You ever used it, Steve?
No, I know artists use it, and it might be wrong, but I think is it called gouache or something?
That's the stuff, yes.
Gouache.
Yeah.
Gouache. So basically, yeah, it's like you say, it's just a way of making a kind of, you've had it and makes it
yeah, mate. I think of yeah, that's right, and a poke. Yeah, it's basically clear paint. But as I say, a lot of people think, well, isn't that thinners, or isn't it like a clear coat? It's like a clear coat, if you like. But the idea being is you put this into your paintwork, so because obviously if you kept thinning it, you're just going to end up with something like water on your model. But this, so it's thick, so it goes on, looks like paint, but it makes your paint more opaque. You can see through it a lot easier. So i.e. you don't kill your details off. I don't know. Again, it's one of those things. Really, do we need that in our hobby? Is it one of those things we've all been dying for? It's like reinventing the wheel. Personally, I just thin me paint a little bit more than normal and spray it down and put 2 coats on instead of 1. You know?
It says it's something along the lines, it's a paint consisting of pigment, water, a binding agent, and sometimes an additional inert material. And it's just a method of opaque painting.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. So you probably, if you really fancy that way, you'd probably be cheaper buying a bottle from your artist supply shop.
Yeah.
And trying it than buying a bottle that's been branded as a model product when it just renamed it.
Because the thing is, you could obviously technically use something like a X22 or something in there, but that's a gloss. And that'll change your paint. What he's done is they basically, you know, our wash, we work it the same way. Our wash is just a universal colour. Okay, when it comes out, it's white. It's just pure white. So that's it. So technically, the light wash is just uncoloured wash. That's how it comes. So what we tend to do now is that, you know, with all the other colours, the pigment is added to that white wash, which gives you all the colours in our range. So imagine it the same way as paint though, is that paint doesn't have a colour naturally, but then they add pigment into it which makes the colour. Okay, so all they're doing is flogging you the I don't know what they actually call it. I need my technical guys that know.
Transparent or something.
Yeah, it's the carrier, isn't it, or something else they call it. I don't know, but that's what it actually is. It's the sort of binder of it. It's what the pigment is and everything attaches to, you know, and it does it like that.
The way I think is you've got this liquid. The more paint you add to it, the more opaque it becomes. So if you want a little amount of paint, when you put it on, it'd be really see-through. Think like a filter. The more paint you add, and it becomes thicker and thicker. You know, think like a pair of ladies' stockings. You could go that way. So you got to have this medium. Well, medium. So you got to start put little paint in. It's got to be 10 denier.
Yeah.
And put more in, 40, then up to 80. So if you look at it that way.
Right, and I won't ask you how you know all this.
Well, you know,
you've been hanging around Adam far too long now, haven't you?
Yeah, I know Adam's. Yeah. The praise of mind has rubbed off on me.
That's it. Right, so there we go. Well, that's how we see it anyway. Say if you know different, let us know. Okay, Russell says, hi Phil and Steve, I've just completed my Airfix 148 scale Hawker Fury, which I painted in silver and aluminium. I'm very pleased, I'm very pleased with it, but at a loss on how to weather it. As you probably know, it's raised panel lines, so the colour wash oils would you use, and what colour would you use to dry brush to dry brush to bring out the ribbing details in the wings and body? Thanks in advance, Russ. Your little technique with your filters and washes would work quite well on that.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, different little filters, so you change in the tone or hue of each panel. That would work really well. You could use a touch of brown oil paint, a raw umber. You could then look at using maybe a touch of black and really dilute it with white spirit, blues, dark blues. So because you're only just changing the tone ever so slight. And if you're putting a wash on there, think of it as though it's a boom wash, where you're bringing out the detail, so that'll go along all your
raised details.
Your raised panel lines. And then for dry brushing, you want probably something like chrome to do a nice job. Or by the time you've weathered down as well, don't forget it'll be darker. Time to put your washes on, if you use fillers, it'll be a lot darker, so you could just then go back to using your base coat. Yeah,
your original colour to bring it. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Yep. Good job, Steve. Very nice. Okay, David says, hi Phil and Steve, hope you're both well. I have a few questions for you guys that I hope you may be able to have some thoughts on. I've recently built a few Airfix 172nd Vampire T2s and a Harrier GR3. Or is that a T11? I don't know. Where the wings join the top form of the panel lines. Where the wing joint on the top form the panel lines, I've had a problem with rescribing the joint panel line after using styrene filler, quite thick. Might be a alternative filler for scribing point of view. In the end, I rescribed the panel line close as I could to the join, but wonder whether this was a good idea. Right, I'm just trying to get my head around that. Scribble line the filler, scribble line view, and end of the Right, are you having trouble where you've filled with the styrene filler? Technically, if you let it totally dry, it should just scribe as easy as plastic, and you should have no difference between the two, which is easier than I find than using something like super glue, because I find it's a bit hard to scribe over, or it's too soft if you use a normal sort of putty filler. That's my point to that one. And the usual thing is, it may be teaching you how to suck eggs, but how you're scribing, I prefer to do very light scribes and then get my depth in that way than just do one pole and put a panel line in. So that way also, if you are scribing over, a tricky area, or if you are going over different textures, i.e. so you've got a soft filler in there, a hard filler, or like a styrene filler, that when you're going over it, because you're just lightly scraping at it, you're not going to be like either chiseling into it hard or digging right in really, really soft. So I just do very light pulls and not pushing at all. As you know, with all my scribing techniques, never push down. It's always the pull motion, or if I'm doing a curved one, it's just scratching around on it, not pushing into the actual surface of it at all.
One thing you could add to that, just check your scriber. Make sure if you're using the Tamiya P-code type, check to see if the blade's still sharp. I know it's something that's, you know, often overlooked and it's obvious, but just check it, because as soon as they go blunt, you just got to drag through, and they're not going to get that nice cut. They're going to make a right mess.
And also, they don't like to cut. I do find if you have got your Tamiya one, you will notice you always get a spare one in the handle, which somebody didn't know that the other week. I was on about it.
I'll put my hands up to that one. I didn't know that at first.
Oh yeah, but I don't know if well, I'll show you now, but I don't know if I've got a blade in here actually. But if you open up your said handle, there you go, you will find you do get a spare one in the bottom, which that's an actually, has that gone rusty? It's been in there that long, but you do get one down in there, and I know a lot of people don't realise you get one in there. So yeah, that's the point. So you just, it's in there like that, you see. So have a look.
It even says, because I've got the newer one than yours. Where, where you can retract the blade, which you never do.
Yeah, yeah.
And that again, that is a little compartment, and it does say spare blades on there, and I have got quite a few in there.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if it came with one or two originally, but
I think it comes with two.
Yeah, that's probably what it is then. I've probably changed one. But I know a lot of people don't realise that they actually have one in there, because somebody the other day asked me about it, and they said, "Oh, your P cutter, what blades does it take?" And I said, "They take universal." But I said, "Have you had the one out the handle?" And they're like, "At the handle? I didn't even know it had one in the handle." I said, "Yeah, if you open it up, there's usually, I know there's one in there, or two, and you've got them in there, so you can just do it." But the thing is, if you run your finger over the edge, it should be sharp. If it's blunt, you know, if it's, you know, not actually cutting you a bit, then it's time to change it. And you will notice your scribing will get a lot better with a new blade in it. But it is one of those things, people I think forget to change the actual blade down in there. You know, it's one of those easily overlooked things, a bit like known as a blade, but if you give it a shake, you probably hear it. That's the clue.
Yeah.
Okay, secondly, I have been using Stynylrez primer on these builds, and I've had a problem with the paint lifting right back to the plastic. In this case, the T11 and the black primer on the Harrier. I can't remember if the Harrier was Stynylrez. I've always cleaned it with IPA 90% or Vallejo airbrush cleaner and run the tape on the back of the hand. Are there any obvious clues as to know if this is a difficult question to answer, or could the Stynylrez be the problem? Peels off the skin in the case of the T11. Many thanks to you guys, in anticipation of your health, from another Flory clone with the orange scissors. Keep up the good work. Very good, Dave. Yeah, I haven't had problems with Stynylrez peeling since you give it a good shake and you got a good surface on it. I know when we first had it, we were having trouble with everything, seemed to be peeling with us, but a lot of that was down to me with user error. Make sure when you shake this stuff up, it's really thoroughly mixed, so you haven't got like the thinner fluid at the top, you've got the good stuff in the bottom as well that's got plenty of bite. You know, also it depends on the plastic. If you're dealing with a plastic like the Hasegawa plastics are really shiny, so you have to be a little bit wary with those. If you get like the stuff like Airfix tends to have, and Revel, and it's got like a texture in it, Italiary, it's got more bite because it can actually physically get hold of it a lot better. It may be just one of those things that happens, and it does time to time. I get peeling occasionally, it's very annoying when it happens, but sometimes it just literally does happen. I don't know, Steve?
No, I don't know. She's cleaned the model.
Yeah, you've done everything right. That's the point, isn't it? You know, there's nothing obvious.
Like our treat photo etch, I always like to give that a little sand, just with
a bit.
A little blue sanded sponge. Just give that, and it's little scratches on there, and it just sticks to it a bit better. But in that, it's just unlucky.
Yeah, it may be just be one of those things. It happens from time to time. It's like everything. It's very hard to completely be avoid of it. You know, at the end of the day, with all these different types of acrylic materials, they are layering. They're not physically eating into the plastic like this stuff, the microfiber stuff and microfiller. You know, because they're lacquer based, when they touch your model, they slightly melt into it because of their nasty, horrible chemicals. Acrylics tend to lay on the top and dry. Okay, so they're not physically etching into the surface of it. So like Steve says, if you're using acrylics especially on metal stuff, and I know obviously Steve does a lot more than I do with photo etch and various things, it's quite hard sometimes to get acrylic paints to physically work. They bubble off of it. But, you know, as Steve was saying, if you give them a little bit of a rub, they can get into it then, get a grip, and they surface level and, you know, and everything else like that. So, yes, that would be my thing. Unfortunately, it could be just one of those things. Is that it? Is that the last question? Let me do a refresh. Things aren't refreshed in an hour and a half. Question 12. Still question 12. That's it. We're done.
Have you checked the asphalt?
Oh, right, yeah. Hold on.
Maybe a couple there for you could do.
You know there is, don't you?
I don't know.
I can hear that in your voice.
I don't even know if I've got any.
Okay, so we have got a few in here. Phil, can you do a tips video on winter camo for armour? Forgot to ask you on Sunday. I think I asked this one the actual day. I haven't got any plans to do it immediately, but I could probably find some stuff in an upcoming project to have a go on. Okay, let me mark that as a red job. Okay, we did the one about the B1B the other week, so that was a joint question. Phil, and to the team, a question. How do you go about choosing the colour of primer to go with the colour of paint? Do you use white to spray white and yellow? How about red? I know on flat paint it does not seem to matter as much as doing a gloss finish. I would like to know what you are using. Thanks, guys. Steve, what colour primers do you use?
I tend to just use light grey.
Light grey. I must admit, I tend to use blacks, obviously, if you're doing anything metally. You can see it as well when it goes down, especially if you're using like lacquer-based paints and stuff like that. But generally, I'm a white guy. Okay, I know black basing we spoke about recently. If you wanted to use black, you could do it. I think we've covered this question somewhere else, but the usual thing, if you're doing a light colour, obviously then if you've got Stynylrez in white, use the white, or any type of primer, use white, because it'll take you less paint to overcoat it. If it's a dark colour like a red and you've got black underneath, you're going to have to go a lot of coats to get that back to being a nice light red, versus if you put white underneath, a couple of coats and your job's done. Okay, so hi Phil, not quite a question, just to let you know, in the case of the missing in the forum, that I had 2 Citadel bottles. Sorry, hold on. Just in case you missed it in the forum, that the 2 Citadel tools that you reviewed are available at Wayland Games in where? Hockley, for £16 and £8.40 respectively, plus P&P. Cool. Right, Malcolm says, hi Phil and Steve, happy Saturday to you both. We must have done this one. Are you planning on visiting Riyadh? No, I'm not there. I'm away.
Yeah, we did that one.
We did that one, yeah. Hi Phil and Steve. After a period of mojo loss, I don't know why I'm scrolling across, I could just do this. After a period of mojo loss, I'm happy to say that I'm getting back in the swing of things. However, do you know of a manufacturer who does replacement nose cannons for the Tamiya 148 scale Mosquito? Because you've guessed it, I've put mine together, and whilst priming it, holding it via the tail, my fingers slipped and it's nose dived into the workbench. I'm not laughing. Right. Consequently, I'm now 3 cannons short of a full stack. I'm wondering if any brass aftermarket ones are available that you could recommend. Love the site, keep up the good work. Yes. Who does? There's
it's Master, isn't it?
Is it Master? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Master does the metal ones, and they are beautiful. They are really,
I've gone
really
for
nice.
One at 32nd.
Hmm.
Mosquito on the stunning.
I take it, are you UK? I think you're UK. Have a look on Hannants and just put in there parts for Mosquito, and it'll come up with all the stuff for it. But yeah, they do some really nice turned brass ones, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
And they really are, because the thing is, on the Mozzie, you got the nose, the guns off the nose like that. They're quite a focal point, and it's well worth the investment on those because they are absolutely miniature, perfect representations of them. Whereas, as say, the plastic ones are a little bit. So it could be the best thing you've ever done. Hey, look, happy little mistakes, as we call it.
Just confirm manufacturer. That's the problem with Hannons. They've got so many stuff manufacturers on there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I'm sure it is Master. Yeah, no, it's not them. Is it Masterbox?
Masterbox, is it? Somebody like that.
Yeah.
Hold on, Steve's just having a look. Live.
No, Masterbox of the figures, isn't it?
Yeah. But I know the one, I can picture the packet.
Yeah, the green.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
If you just go on, another good tip, if you go on Hannons, type in 1-48 Mosquito.
Yeah, you do. You come up with everything. Because to be honest, that's how I do things like this. When I was looking for this guy, I just went to Hannons and I put in there like Focke-Wulf 190, 132nd scale, and it comes up with everything. So it comes up with all the aftermarket stuff, the decals for it, anything for this kit, or anything for all the 32nd ones comes up with it. And barrels, they're universal, they fit anybody's. So you can just grab it and do it that way.
Just go have a quick search and see what there is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go search. Search. Oh, is it Mastercasters? Is it Mastercasters, is it?
No, because they do the resin bits, don't they? They don't do metal, I don't think, do
No. I forget the name of them. I bought some at, they were at Telford.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully they'll be there next year and they bring in their entire range.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've got some amazing stuff. But yeah, if you type in 1-48, it comes up with everything.
It'll have everything there, so you can do it that way.
Yeah.
Right, that's about us for today. Yeah, hour and a half, that's not bad going. I'll be carrying on with this little guy. As I say, the first part of this will probably be up on Monday. Tomorrow, because I haven't done the editing yet on the Thompson one, and I don't think I've quite got enough to go for on the other one yet, for the Osprey, it's probably going to be the final part from the Halifax. So that'll complete that one, and then both of those, it depends. If I can get the Thompson one done tomorrow, then I'll get that done first thing and get it edited and up to you in the afternoon. If not, it will be the last part for the Halifax build, of which I managed to find my lost footage, because it turns out it was the same time when my computer blew up and it was all on my other computer. Hence, whilst I thought I'd lost it and deleted it, it wasn't. So I had to re-edit it again this morning with the correct footage put in. So all that work I had to do yesterday and reshooting it all and everything else like that was a complete waste of time. Didn't have to bother at all. So never mind, all good. All good at the end of the day. But loving this one. This one's coming on really, really nice. We're going to get on a roll with this. Gives me a good week to push on and get ahead for you guys. And then obviously you can join in with it next week to make our way through. Just to remember, the Armoured SIG, which is the World War One Dawn of a New Age, is it, that one?
Yeah.
Finishes Saturday night. So just to be clear, Saturday, 6 o'clock UK time, just make sure you've done it. That way we won't have a problem. But we know what happens. Somebody say, I missed it by 10 minutes. Look, you had 6 months.
What we usually do,
3.
It works out, it's something like 6 a.m.
Yeah,
Pacific.
our time, because it's Hans's time, does it?
Yeah, 6 a.m. Our time on Sunday morning, which is something like 10 p.m. Pacific time.
Oh yes, we'll be alright.
Yeah.
We'll be good, we'll have a good go. So get that one done. So make sure you get your entries in for that, and then obviously that allows me, I'll get it done quite quick this week. I'll get it done next week obviously for the video montage build. Remember, there's no prizes for that one, so nobody scream at me for medals, but obviously you do for the big full-on group builds that we've got going on at the moment. So that's it for me. Thank you very much today, Steve.
It's a pleasure as always, Phil.
My little bind of information in Dictionary Corner. Get you there with a separate laptop.
Barrels, actually.
Oh, typical. I'll have a look later, and if I can find them, I'll put them on the bottom of this thread in the forum, and we'll do it like that.
In fact, I wonder if Quick Boost do them. resin ones.
Oh, they probably do a resin set, yeah. I was thinking of those metal ones, they're really nice. They're very expensive, to say go with the resin ones, you'd be good. Right, thank you very much, Steve. I'm going to outro us if I can remember how to do it, because I can't. So I'll just press the little thing down here and we'll disappear out. So thank you very much, Steve, and we'll catch you all tomorrow for the vlog and all the bits and pieces. No full build this weekend, obviously me and Steve, because we're doing it every other weekend. So I keep people saying to me, are you doing it this Saturday? No, every other Saturday. I have to do shopping and boring things around Asda. Right, there we go. Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. We'll catch you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.